Greetings, my fellow film-loving thinkers. This is LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mangrove, South Florida. And today's date is Monday, October 29th, 2018. So let us begin. Good day, and thanks for tuning in. I'm in the heart of downtown Fort Lauderdale right now. Beautiful day. Starting to cool down a little bit. Low humidity, it's in the 70s. Awesome. There's days you don't want to go to work. You just want to kick back, relax. Especially if you're living down here. The subtropics, the Everglades, swamps, and all that good stuff. Yeah, so looks like I may have struck some a nerve or so. May have commented wrong, but the ones that really know me understand when I make these statements on my Facebook page. Did one on about the mega bomber suspect, and I made a quote: "Friends don't let friends manistate over the Lizzie Borden syndrome." One person didn't want to talk to me, deleted me from his pen pal list. And it's a real shame, because I don't do this out of kicks or lust or anything like that. Because if you study Lizzie Borden case, that happened in the late 1800s in a small town in Massachusetts. Everyone made a big uproar about this woman, the suspect Lizzie Borden, who was accused of murdering her parents with an axe. And during the investigation, all the hype and hoopla, when the grand jury indicted her for 2 counts of first-degree murder, everyone in the town, including the press, were convinced without a shadow of a doubt she is guilty of murdering her parents. When the jury reached its verdict, she was found not guilty, and everyone freaked out. Didn't know what to say. Some researchers believe she was still guilty. But in the court of law in Massachusetts, the woman was acquitted. Here's what I have to say about the whole thing with the MAGA bomber. I forgot his name at the top of my head. People jumped on that bandwagon, wanted to blame the Trump supporters and Donald Trump for the hatred, including Jim Carrey with his entourage, Church of Hollywood status, which will all kiss the floor he walks on. Regardless of what you folks believe, he is innocent until proven guilty through judicial due process. I suspect him to be a patsy, but I could be mistaken. But sometimes you have to look at everything a lot thorougher than what it is. Can he be entrapped by FBI agents? Possibly. It wasn't the first time this happened. He could be a political prisoner. He was considered a registered Democrat before he became a Trump supporter. You got to observe these things thoroughly. You don't believe the corporate media garbage. They've been doing this for a long time. Happened with Charles Manson. He never got a fair trial. President Richard Nixon said he was guilty before the jury of his peers. Ain't that astute or what? Are you going to go out there and pledge to Bizarro as your Lord and Savior, do things backwards as patriotic? Hearsay is fact and truth is irrelevant. That's what you have to look at, my friends. Always see things a lot more thorough than what they address. We can talk about that. We can talk about the George Zimmerman case, which is very disturbing, regardless what side you're on. Did the same thing. Same thing with O.J. Simpson in the criminal case. When you folks ever gonna learn to look at things more observantly, think for yourself instead of jumping on that exploited manifestation? This is why I say friends don't let friends manifest on the Lizzie Borden syndrome. And the person that befriended me and got a little bit uptight, He should have addressed this to me on a personal level and go, brother, what are you talking about? Explain this. I would have clarified it in good faith. Because it does happen. I make my errors too. I admit that on where I put on there. And I clarified, they went, thank you. It's a human element, my friends. Don't let your emotions supersede your logic. Because the truth of the matter is, it can burn you when least expected. So, that's how I see things. And I'm not the only one. So, like I said, if justice is served, it's got to be done honorably and in good faith. I know Trump supporters as a whole condemns these acts. They're not all a bunch of morons either. You got some interesting people out there that like what he does, but can accept criticism based on some of his actions. That's why on my show, if I'm critical towards anybody, I back it up with facts. Judge them by their actions, not by their party or what some media whorebags address to you. That's the name of the game. Get off. Beware of the propaganda matrix. It's been going on for a long time. And another thing you have to say too, my friends, witch hunting is a dangerous game. Millions of people were slaughtered by the hands of tyrannical governments for being scapegoated at what happened. Hey, we could talk about the collapse of the German economy in the late 1920s. And what happened was the new leadership came in and they blamed it on the Jews. Same thing with the internment camps. By the Executive Order 9066, collectively condemn all Japanese descent that are Americans, by the way. Put them in these internment camps without due process. And that included the Italians and the Germans as well. They were Americans. Think about that. You're going to fall for this garbage? I don't. And I'm not, I'm one of those individuals that's not a Trump worshiper. Okay? Or hater and all that. That's a waste of energy. A lot of things are happening and you're getting distracted by anything he says, anything he tweets. You folks spaz out. That's pathetic. Call yourselves men and women. You make children look more mature. A lot more mature than these so-called adults. Don't believe the hype. Observe responsibly. And I know I'm digressing. Forgive me, my friends. But I have to let that out. All right. But speaking of what happened, before I'm talking about my topic, I like to send my condolences to all my brothers and sisters from the New York hardcore scene, plus the families and friends of Todd Youth, who is a guitarist for Youth of Today, Warzone, Blood Clot, did stuff for Danzig. He didn't even play a good amount of dates with Motorhead. He was 47 years old, and he may have, I know he had some vice issues in the past, based on some sources I got, friends of mine in the scene. Hopefully, that's not the case. I know he's a Krishna by creed. Hopefully, his travels in the spirit world will be peaceful and prosperous. Did a lot of great songs, regardless of what genre you're in. He didn't play with Danzig, too, by the way. But very disheartening when he got individuals like him, was a pioneer of the New York hardcore scene, which I really love dearly. I met some good people out there. We still chat on Facebook. We always give each other hugs. That's one of the things about bonding, unity. That's what I love about New York hardcore, too, because a lot of unification. Doesn't matter what you look like, what you believe in. You have a common bond. Care for each other. This is why, right now, my friends, we shouldn't be in the brink of meltdown spiritually. We need to enhance and strengthen each and every one of us. Yes, a lot of crazy things are happening. There's even, I read an article, too, that gold is up in demand 42%. Many countries get ready to ditch the dollar, the petrodollar. Don't blame Trump on this one. He may be part of it by bragging too much, but focus on the Federal Reserve. So may so be forever free, my friend. One day we'll meet in spiritual form. All right, enough of that. So, I'm going to be talking about the horrific events that happened at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. And an interesting article here, even with Jeffrey Myers, talking about we need tougher gun laws, in July. So it'll be I'll be doing a couple articles about this and lay down the facts, what the Torah believed in self-defense, and what the JPFO has to say too on exploitation and so forth, which Jews for Preservation of Firearms Ownership. And I am going to add a video too. I helped download by the JPFO called No Guns for Jews. And anyone that is Judaic by faith need to really pay attention to this, because sometimes you got some of these people claim to be Jewish, and I don't see that. They're considered unmeritable. That's just an example. Even the Christian churches a lot of them don't believe in self-defense. They've been mistaken. But I will say this here. It says here, in July, a rabbi of Pittsburgh Tree of Life Synagogue called for gun control. Where are our leaders? Just months before his synagogue was targeted in what authorities say it was an anti-Semitic mass shooting Saturday, the rabbi at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh made an impassioned call for gun control. There must be a better system. I would have hoped that bright minds in Washington, D.C. could sit down and work out a solution that takes into account all concerns that have been raised. Rabbi Jeffrey Myers wrote in the July blog post on the Tree of Life website, Alice in action once again. And you can read this for yourselves. And I did read it, so I will continue on here. In the July 19th post, Myers laminated that the Parkland Florida school shooting in February had faded from the headlines, that the status quo has remained unchanged in its wake. I shouldn't have to include in my daily morning prayers that God should watch over my wife and daughter, both teachers, and keep them safe, Myers wrote. Where are our leaders? Now, just 3 months later, Myers' own synagogue has become the site of the latest high-profile American mass shooting. Robert Bowers, 46, allegedly opened fire on the Pittsburgh synagogue during Shabbat service Saturday, killing 11 and wounding several others. He was armed with an assault weapon and 3 handguns, officials said Saturday. On social media, Bowers had reportedly posted photos of his gun collection, which he described as his Glock family. The shooting has already spurred a renewed focus on gun laws in the United States, which has far higher rate of gun violence than any other high-income countries. But President Trump has already indicated that gun control will not be a non-starter under his administration. When asked about gun reform en route to an event Saturday afternoon, Trump told reporters that the gun laws have to do little with it if you take a look at it, and suggested the synagogue should have an armed guard present to protect its members. If they had protection inside, the results would have been far better, Trump said. Maybe it would have been a much different situation, but they didn't have an armed guard. And unfortunately, the alleged shooter was able to do things he shouldn't have been able to do. He also indicated Saturday that the events are far more devastating than originally thought. Authorities who are investigating the incident as a hate crime have described the scene of the mass shooting as horrific. The scene is a very bad inside. Wendell Hisrich, the Pittsburgh Public Safety Director, said in a press briefing Saturday, "It's one of the worst I've seen. This is just the latest mass shooting since Trump took office, and just the latest to occur at a place of worship. Each has led to renewed scrutiny of America's gun culture, and victims of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting lead to a prominent push for common sense gun control. But as Meyer wrote in July, those pushes have largely failed to lead to legislation in Washington." In his post, which also called out the administrator over his controversial family separation and immigration policy, he urged Americans to hold lawmakers accountable in the upcoming midterm elections. It's interesting about this because, I have to say this. President Trump is right, regardless if you like him or not. One of the areas you have to really see, my friends, you're in the first line of defense. And based on this, and I read the commentary from Rabbi Myers. I'm just curious if the synagogue is a firearm-free zone. Based on this, I'm not surprised. They still call him a hero because he rescued people. He did the right thing. He's a hero. He's got, as far as I'm concerned, he needed to study the Torah and the Talmud once again, because what I'm seeing here is not really Judaic. It's very blasphemous in my eyes. Pretty critical on this guy. Why? Because he failed. He misled his members of the congregation. Their duties are to defend themselves, their families, and loved ones, and innocent people. I'll continue on here with Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh mayor that put his 2 cents in. Came out yesterday. Pittsburgh mayor pushes back on Trump's call for armed guards in churches and synagogues. I don't think that's the answer to his problem, Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto said in the wake of the Tree congregation shooting. Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto, the Democrat, on Sunday dismissed President Trump's suggestion of adding armed guards to house of worship in the wake of a deadly mass shooting at the Tree Synagogue a day earlier. Peduto, during an interview at NBC's Meet the Press, instead urged Congress to pass stricter gun laws to prevent similar attacks in the future. I don't think that the answer to this problem is solved by having our synagogues, mosques, and churches filled with armed guards, or our schools filled with armed guards, Peduto said. We should stop irrational behavior from happening at the forefront. Of course, Chuck asked Pittsburgh Mayor what he needs from President Trump after the shooting of the Tree of Life synagogue. I don't think the answer to the problem is solved by having synagogues, mosques, and churches filled with armed guards. See, I gotta say this. In reality, to an extent, Mr. Peduto is in La La Land. He has a wet dream. Do you want, Mr. Peduto, you want the government to control people for the tools of self-defense? You think your answer is going to make everyone safe? I don't think so. Do your homework, young man, or old man, whatever. Because right now, you're making a fool of yourself in front of my eyes. And I will continue on here. Hours after the gunmen opened fire at the synagogue Saturday, killing at least 11 people, Trump told reporters that gun control had little to do with the attack. If there was an armed guard inside the temple, they would have been able to stop him, the president claimed. Trump has repeatedly called for arming more people in response to mass shootings after the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School massacre in Parkland, Florida. On February 14, Trump suggested that having concealed guns to attack teachers. But Peduto on Saturday threw cold water on Trump's call for guns in response to mass shootings. We shouldn't be trying to find ways to minimize the dangers that occur from irrational behavior. He continued, we should be working to eliminate irrational behavior and to empower of people who would seek to cause this type of carnage from continuing. He continued, I think the approach we need to look at now is how we take the guns, which is a common denominator of every mass shooting in America, out of our hands of those who are looking to express hatred through murder. Yeah, tell it to people like Adolf Hitler, Mao Tse-tung, Idi Amin Dada, general who was the dictator of Uganda, Pol Pot. Ask him that. We can go on and on, etc. I'll continue on here. Pittsburgh City Council members Corey O'Connor and Erica Strasburger echoed Basuto's comments during an appearance on ABC's This Week. If that's not the community we want. We don't want people having armed guards in every door you walk into, O'Connor said. This is not a type of community we want to live in. Strasburg added, where do we stop with arming our society and feeling as if we can't be safe anywhere? I don't see this as an answer. Well, I got a question for all those folks in there. Prove to me the police are obligated to protect an individual. In Pittsburgh. Prove it. You can't. Nincorn, Chapter 85, Section C, under governmental immunity, official immunity. And it's interesting about this, because they're not technically obligated to protect an individual. And there's a big list on this as well. People need to start looking. Local agency shall be liable for damages on account of an injury to a person or property within the limits set forth in the subchapter if both of the following conditions are satisfied: the injury as a result of one's act in the subsection. So that's section 8542, right, of the Pennsylvania law. Chapter 8542. There's the provisions on here. And nothing contained in this chapter shall be construed to waive immunity of the Commonwealth from suit in federal courts guaranteed by the 11th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. So, it says here, general rule, except as otherwise provided in this subchapter, no provision of this title shall construe a waiver of sovereign immunity for the purpose of 1 PA-SS Section 2310. Potholes and all that, but he's saying anything about police protection. So, technically, the police aren't obligated to protect you as an individual, according to this. So I'm going to add this to the memo, for sure. I'll keep that handy, and I'm going to add another list. I've done it before for the National Conference of State Legislatures, State Sovereign Immunity and Tort Liability. All 50 states and its territories are in here. So, folks, you can look this up, do your homework, and share it with others. So that's the reason, my friends. They're doing things over and over and over again. They don't want us to be. They want us to be unprepared and call for help. It's like the World of Underdog, the cartoon. And I'm not trying to be macho or Rambo or anything like that. But we've been living in a dangerous world for a long time. Since beginning of time, to be precise. Many books, ancient books, talk about it as well. Okay, I can go on this. So, it was funny because Rabbi Meyer claimed to be Jewish by faith, or Judaic by faith, but I am pretty convinced he is contradicting his creed. And Jews Can Shoot has an article on here that came out May 28, 2017. It's called The Torah and Self-Defense by David Kopel. And it's interesting with Abraham and all that. And even talks about some of the scriptures. It's good to know these things. And when you open it up, there's a link on here. And it talks about a lot of things on this. We'll go by here. Number 2, an image of God. It's paragraph 1. I'm not going to go too bonkers on this. But it says here the first legal code in the Bible was given to Noah and his family after the great flood wiped out the entire human race except for the people on Noah's Ark. Laws are sometimes called the Noahide Commandments, Jewish natural law, or the Rainbow Commandments. Unlike laws which are given later in the Torah, Rainbow Commandments are considerable obstacles to God's relationship with all humanity, not just with the Hebrews. Interesting there, right? And even the times in Exodus, I believe it says here, the Hebrews have been enslaved in Egypt for centuries. Afraid the Hebrew slaves were producing too fast, and Pharaoh's ordered to murder all Hebrew boys, although planned a thought by righteous midwives. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to go a little bit down further. Right here, I think it's 32, Exodus 32. And God took the people toward the way of the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds, and the children of Israel were armed when they went up from Egypt. Presumably the weapons were obtained from the Egyptians. For the most of his human history, a distinctive feature of a free man that he possesses arms, and a distinctive feature of a slave that he does not. So the text shows the Hebrews were marching out triumphantly as free people, not running away like slaves. That's from Exodus 32 and 33. So, yes, you can, the Jews can, and Jews can carry arms. as free people. And I could go continue on here, going a little bit down further. According to Rabbi a 14th century author who wrote Jewish Ethics, the story of escape from Egypt illustrates the appropriate Jewish attitude toward weapons. People must use every practical option, including self-defense, before expecting a miracle. Help yourselves before getting that miracle done. We can go on here about the annual Passover Seder. Jewish families say in every generation each person must look upon himself or herself as if he or she personally had come out of Egypt. As the book of Exodus says, you shall teach your children that day is because what the Eternal One do for me, and went out for the forth from Egypt. It was not the fathers or mothers alone whom Holy One redeemed. We too redeem along with them. So it's very interesting here about that aspect of this article. And the Mosaic Law is on the same page here by davidkopel.com, but you can look at it on the Jews Can Shoot. Second half of the book of Exodus are much remaining books of Pentateuch. Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy are given the detailed code, legal code, and involving religious ritual, criminal law, civil law, and other matters, community of governments. Like I said, it's in the book of Leviticus, I think it's 42. And I will give you peace in the land, and ye shall lie down. None shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land, and ye shall chase your enemies. And they shall fall before you by the sword. And 5 of you shall chase, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. Interesting. So if people in there would have shot back, he probably would have ran off. Interesting here because it happened with what's his name? Charles Van Vick, who saved over 900 lives, even though 13 people were killed and 63 were injured at the St. James Church massacre. Good man. He's not being macho or arrogant, but he did what was right. And the book he had called Illegal Duty of Right and Duty of Self-Defense. Very touching indeed, because he was very emotionally infuriated too in what happened to his fellow brothers and sisters. But he had to redeem himself too in a period of time. So I recommend check that book out when you have a chance. It's very intriguing. And it says here, all the scriptures have been subjected to extensive commentary by a long line rabbinic scholars. Various scholars have drawn slightly different lessons about self-defense from Exodus chapter 22, verse 2 and 3, but we have all agreed that core principle of self-defense is permissible in cases of necessity. I want to go back a little further here. Under Mosaic law, the nearest relative of a person who was murdered was obliged to kill the murderer, providing restitution for the death of the innocent. But when a nocturnal burglar was killed in the act, there was no wrongdoing. Thus, his relatives had no right of restitution against the homeowner. Interesting there, that's 44 of Exodus. And right around here, the law explicitly authorized personal and family self-defense against criminal attack. Book of Exodus absolved a homeowner who killed a burglar at night, and a thief found breaking up and be smitten that he died. There should be no blood shed on him. The modern English Bible renders the verse, when burglar caught breaking in and fairly beaten, there should be no charge of manslaughter. The original Bible Hebrew translation refers to a thief who was found while tunneling. Since the homes were made of clay walls, a burglar might enter tunneling through a wall. So it's interesting there as well. And we're on here, Philo of Alexandria. Excuse me here. Looks like my voice is a little bit clogged here. Just getting out of the cold. But everything's coming out, so I'm feeling a lot much better. So, I'm just winging this right now. So, it says right here about the thieves. Okay, mostly right here. I'll do this paragraph. The paragraph 1 of this, Philo of Alexandria. One of the greatest Jewish legal scholars of antiquity was Philo of Alexandria, who wrote about the Jewish law in Alexandria, Egypt, during the period when Egypt and Israel under both Roman rule. Much of Philo's treatise aimed to show that Jewish law from the Bible was consistent with Roman law. Roman law of the time allowed the killing a thief of only in self-defense, and required the victim first make a cry for help to summon neighbors before using deadly force. Fellow argued that the Mosaic provision confirmed the Roman law because every night burglar was a potential murderer. The burglar would be armed at the least with the iron house breaking tools, which could be used as a weapon. Because the assistance from the police or neighbors would be unlikely at nighttime, the victim was allowed to immediately resort to deadly force. Neither Philo nor Exodus were explicit about what would happen in a daytime burglary. Modern scholarship about practice of Philo's time suggested that use deadly force would be illegal if the victim in moral peril called for help and none arrived. Like the Romans, Philo viewed all forms of theft as merely variations on a single type of attack on society, assault on the right of ownership of private property. Thus, a petty thief, there is no difference in the principle from a tyrant who stole the resource of his nation or a nation which plundered another nation. The great Christian theologian Augustine of Hippo made a similar point, asking if justice had been taken away, where are the governments but great bands of robbers? So, interesting there about that. And I'm going to go to the third paragraph, which is called the Oral of Torah. And it says here, regarding the passage in Exodus, the Babylonian Talmud explained, was the reason for the law breaking in, because it is certain that no man is inactive where his property is concerned. Therefore, this one, the thief, must have reason. If I go there, the owner will oppose me, prevent me, but if he does, I will kill him. Hence the Torah decree, if he comes to slay thee, forestall by slaying them. Last sentence sometimes is translated, if someone comes to kill you, rise up and kill him first. There you go. The final sentence does not delegate discretion, is a positive command. A Jew has a duty to use deadly force to defend himself against murderous attack. That's enough said. I am going to add this link to this as well. There's a link for this clip in, read more from JewsCanShoot.com. That actually came out by May 28th, 2017. But, so, with all due respect to Rabbi Meyer, you're preaching your faith incorrectly. You call yourself a Jew, but based on your rhetoric, you're practicing as a Gino, a Jew in name only. I'm not here to pick on you, sir, but criticizing you on your statements is unacceptable to the Torah and the Talmud. And I'm not the only one who will say this. Many people in the Jewish community, even the ones that were supported by Jews for the preservation of firearms ownership, the late Aaron Zellman will back me up on this 100%. May his soul be forever free. But Rabbi Mori will agree with me as well. So you can't call me anti-Semitic, sir, because then you lost the battle, you lost the debate, and you have no merit. Interesting here are a couple articles here. I like what it says here by Pittsburgh Atrocities are murderers, not shootings. Are murders, not shootings. This is what they have to say here. Don't inspire evil. Stop promoting the murder suspect's faith. JPFO says mass media makes multiple ethical mistakes in coverage of October 27th Pittsburgh synagogue murders. Showing suspects' face all day isn't news. It's awful. Reporter contributed directly to lack of faith public now has in journalism, JPFO asserts. Lost the confidence and audience size, no accident. Countless of ethical substantive errors flood the mass media reports covering the multiple murders at the synagogue in Pittsburgh. These are not being perpetuated by cable news and the major outlets without even a hint of concern or even awareness. The murders, the worst crime possible, are being called shootings. And imprecise term that coincidentally describes America's second most popular participant sport, which reporters detest and otherwise basically censor. The raising issue of so-called hate crime, which reports are already doing before the motive of any substantial details are known, is a gross journalistic error. Worse, it invokes an Orwellian deception with no place in the real report. Murder and assault do not get worse if the perpetrator loved, hated, care nothing for the victim. Journalists know this, or should. The harm done in an attack is the key to proper justice. Thought crime is the stuff of novels, not a free republic. So, it's not what the person hated, it's his actions, what they're saying here. In weeks and months to come, we can expect corrupt and ethics-free media to turn the suspect's face into another anti-hero icon, as they have done so many times before, giving an excuse mass murderer worldwide notoriety adds nothing to the news cycle. Debases our culture, encourages copycats, horrifies news consumers, frightens children, don't even sell more papers as it once did, and ignores the bedrock of principle of innocent until proven guilty. Remember what happened to Richard Jewell. It's time for companies everywhere to adopt JPFOs. Don't inspire, initiative, end. Refrain from greatest or repetitive portrayal of mass murderers' names and images. P.S. We suspect the news will be playing this up for a long time, showing the picture of the suspect until the person is a national icon. You think. It is life you cherish. Note that more than 80 people died on our roads today and yesterday and will tomorrow. Media provides a hopelessly distorted sense of reality. And definitely, folks, look this up. It is what it is. And there's a link for that JPFO site as well. And I have to back them up on this. I haven't been a member for a long time. And I know some controversies when the late Aaron Zellman passed. Then Alan Coren from Second Amendment Foundation took control. A lot of controversy with that. Even there's claims that even Aaron Zellman wasn't crazy about him. He called him opportunist. However, he still kept some of his guys handy, like Rabbi and Maury. Good man. And gotta go with the truth, my friends. This is why I do something like this. And I'm definitely going to add a link to this page. No Guns for Jews. And send this to everyone you know, especially in the Pittsburgh area. It is important that true Judaism, self-defense is righteous. Not just in the Judaic faith, but natural law. That's how I see the world. Not out of fear, but with vigilance. And that is it, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or you're saying something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. I will post all my social media sites and email addresses on my Spreaker page and many other outlets as well. So, that's it. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.